IVM.
So it's been another great week at IVM Podcast, and if you aren't following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the major social media networks. This week on the Pragati Podcast, Pawan and Hamsini talk to economist Anupam Manur about how India is tackling creating new jobs. On the Pulyabazi show, tune into part 2 of Pranay's interview with China expert Manoj Keval-Ramani. On Simplified in a Shorty, Shrikesh, Chuck and Naren give interesting tidbits about the qualifying round of the 2018 World Cup. On Cyrus Says this week, Cyrus has a conversation with friend of the network Vivek Kaul about the economy. On Who's Your Mommy, Veda and her friends discuss the strange and disturbing questions they've been asked by their kids. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen talks to non-binary Instagram sensation Dan Rubello. On Varta Lab last week, Akash and Naveen exchanged some hilarious stories with Balraj Ghai, owner of the Hotel Intercontinental and The Habitat. And with that, let me get you onto your shows.
Hey, welcome to episode 59 of Shunya One. Today we have with us Kulin Shah, who's been an entrepreneur and now is leading a very interesting new product in the consumer space. We're going to talk to him about what he's doing at Acko. And of course, before that, since Amit's not with me today in the studio for this intro, I'm going to run through a few quick introductions to folks who have joined us on the Slack channel. Hi there, Ivan, thanks Sangram, and the Ghost for chiming in. Of course, we've been hosting a few quick discussions over there with the polls we've been running. This will go out this Wednesday again. And please do check in on the channel for all the conversation post the show. For now, let's get on with today's episode. All right, today we have with us Kulin Shah, who's the VP at Acko General Insurance. He's been a long-time friend and, of course, an entrepreneur himself, and also someone who has moved from Bombay to Bangalore, unfortunately.
Really? Betrayal.
Yes, but we have him here in studio on this trip back to Bombay. So thanks for being here, Kulin. Thanks for making it.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me here. And the Bangalore weather is awesome. It's 23, 24 degrees right now.
And it's also raining and nice and pleasant here in Bombay in this one month of the year.
You want to use the words raining and pleasant in the same sentence, really?
Maybe just today.
Okay.
But thank you so much for being on the show. We would, of course, love to hear a little bit about your story so far,
Sure.
all the way from your early startup, which was Wishberg, going into FreeCharge, which you were a part of, and an amazing exit that FreeCharge had,
Sure.
and to this whole new paradigm of digital insurance, which we will definitely talk about. But just to set the context for everyone listening in, right? If you could tell us a little bit about the background.
So probably I'll take a couple of steps back and talk about my journey even before Wishberg. Started my early days in a corporate, Aditya Birla Group. Was a part of the group management training program, did multiple stints. My last one was with Idea Cellular, and thought that, something interesting needs to be done after telecom. I was getting bored out there, and did something very different. Went ahead and joined a VC fund, which was looking at telecom in a big way in the India-US corridor. Spent 3.5 years out there, met some wonderful entrepreneurs, and was a part of a lot of discussions in the boardroom, and just felt very stupid being there because, those guys have like 15 years, 20 years of experience, and the kind of suggestions that you start giving, you just felt that, you're not being in their shoes to kind of give those suggestions to them. So at some point of time, thought that, if you really want to add value to this ecosystem, you need to be a part of it, not just from the outside, but, get inside it. And that's when Wishberg happened. Met Praveen, and we decided to kind of do this thing together, and ran in Wishberg for almost 3 years, raised a small amount of money, did a lot of pivots. But somewhere down the line, I think the story didn't materialize for us. The growth initially took off, but we kind of saturated. In the hindsight, I think there are a lot of learnings from Wishberg.
What was the Wishberg platform itself? What was it? Can you describe that to people? Just kind of what the...
Yeah, sure. So we started with the, intent to kind of collect people's wishes or purchase intents, and then kind of, help advertisers and, platforms monetize it.
Right.
But this was kind of packaged in a social bucket list kind of a platform.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you could probably come and say, I want to buy an iPhone, or I want to travel to Turkey. And we made it social. We said, you could come, probably you could look at Shiladitya's bucket list.
Right.
So Wishburg was,
Nice.
and hence Wishburg happened. But yeah, I think there were a lot of learnings from there. We gave it a chance for 3 years, and we had to kind of then take a call and say, what's best for us and for the entire team. And took the call. At that point of time, FreeCharge Acko hired us. At FreeCharge, I started with the partnerships for growth. And these were different from the coupons partnership. This was more about, driving growth and new users to the platform, getting them to transact on the platform. And started with an individual contributor role out there, did close to around 100 campaigns in 8 months, drove 2 million transactions through those campaigns. And Snapdeal happened. And after that, we kind of, did a pivot, and we said, what, along with recharges, we want to do, also the wallet.
Right.
So I was part of the wallet team and launched the wallet for online merchants. And that was a great journey. A lot of things to learn. We never sold a payment solution. We always sold a growth solution. Mm-hmm. We never thought of ourselves as a payments wallet. We said, FreeCharge's core is to kind of drive growth for businesses, right? We want to be the partners, not for the finance team, but for the marketing team, for the CEO's team, right? Because we want to solve a problem, right? And we said that, the wallet is a great way to kind of solve people's marketing problems, great way to kind of, give them more insights on what their users are doing. Right. And that's the way, FreeCharge happened. And we launched close to around 100,000 merchants in less than 12 months. And all this with a team of 14 people, because we just said, let's not throw, people at problems, but let's throw problems at people, right? So we maintained a lean team. And I think the great team, great culture at FreeCharge, lots to learn out there. Then took a sabbatical for, personal reasons. My wife had moved to New York, and Pankti is my wife. And we said, what, I want to kind of take some time off, because the time at FreeCharge was, we really didn't spend time as a family at that point of time. So took some time off, went to New York. A lot of stories out there also, and did a lot of soul searching out there. Wanted to kind of figure out what's next for me. Did some traveling. Traveling is something that's very close to me, so did some traveling out there, some solo trips, and can talk about it more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I did a 30-day trip on 5 trains across the U.S.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, U.S. trains?
Yes, Amtrak.
Really?
Yes, I just spent, I think, a little less than $3,000 for 30 days trip.
Yeah, because U.S. trains are expensive, and people don't really travel that country that much by train. You hear about it very, very rarely that road trips are more common, right?
Yeah. I was not too confident of driving out there.
Okay.
And that too alone. So I was like, let me just take the trains. And trains, I think, are a great way to meet new people. And I want always to kind of, explore their culture, understand, why they do what they do. Couch surfed at few places. So that kind of got the cost down. I was an unemployed guy out there in the US. So stayed in hostels and met some real good friends, people whom I have still in touch with. And these are people who are there's a German professor, there are retired teachers. There are people, I met people who are part of the government cells in small districts.
Okay.
And they were doing some work on sustainability out there. So varied people. Did that, started reading about spirituality a little, and got interested in Buddhism. And then in the month of June or July, we thought that, US is not the place where I want to be. US is not the place where my wife wanted to be. So Pankti decided to kind of call it the day, and I moved in the end of July. She moved back in Feb of this year. So in the month of July, came back to India and then started kind of looking for newer opportunities. And was already exploring some opportunities, and met Varun. Varun is also the ex-co-founder of CoverFox, and he kind of started this full stack insurance company. Acko is not a broker or a web aggregator, right? It's more like a full stack insurance company. We manufacture our own insurance products and distribute it. And they had a very interesting, outlook to insurance, something that I've not really seen in the industry. I think insurance is to only get morbid thoughts, for me at least. And
in fact, before you go there, the whole transition you just mentioned, right? I mean, just to try and connect the dots. Why? You obviously saw the world from an outside in, from a VC perspective early on, then tried your own startup, and then joined a very high growth company like FreeCharge, which had like everything guns blazing for it. And you sort of left at its peak, right? When it was almost like you were looking at not burning out, but you were just doing things at the highest level of efficiency, right? I would guess the stuff you explained.
Yeah.
Is that something you think that's well ingrained in startup culture in India? Is that something you think why places like FreeCharge succeeded? What pros and cons can you throw at that? Because again, of these varied experiences that you've had so far.
So I think in place like FreeCharge, right, culture was the most important thing. People were the most important thing, right? Everything else would just fall in place if you take care of these two things. I get your point that, we were like really kind of at the peak of it. But I think I did my part of putting up the network together. And at some point of time, being in FreeCharge, I had one family in the office and one family back at home. I spent a lot of time with my family in office, right? But then there was also a chance that, needed to kind of prioritize the family back home, right? So I think that's the reason why I took that call of, moving out of FreeCharge. But at FreeCharge, one thing that really resonated with everyone was that, whatever happens, we just have to be at it. We just take obscene goals and then reverse engineer to kind of, see how to kind of meet them. And I think hats off to Kunal that after coming from a startup where, every penny mattered, at FreeCharge, we were told that if you don't come on the front foot, you'll never be able to hit a 6. And I think I will always carry this statement that Kunal told me that, you have to go on the front foot. You have to take the risks. You have to, you just have to believe in yourself that, this is going to pay off, this is going to pay off. And the other thing is that we were never afraid of failures at FreeCharge, right? We said, we can always fail. That's okay. But we just don't make the same mistakes again. And I think that's the kind of things that really helped us to kind of, build FreeCharge the way it was. Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, but leading to, of course, then the sabbatical that you took and, the stuff you got interested in post that, right?
Yeah.
What do you think this whole massive, while I understand that you appreciate, what you guys achieved, and of course you have. I mean, wow, to watch FreeCharge, how it happened, right?
Yeah.
But do you think there is a level of burnout which happened, which led you to like look at, okay, let me take a break and figure stuff out?
It did. Because, sometimes you just get so passionate about things, you just forget everything that's happening around you because you just want to achieve those things. And I don't think it becomes work anymore. It's just not an office space that you're going to. You're going on a mission, right? And it just becomes a mission of your life. And at some point in time, you need to take a step back and say, what, I need to prioritize in life, right? And I think that's what really led to this whole thing, right? So, and I think it came at a good time because we were at peak at that point of time. I think that, we achieved what we could in those 12 months. And we could then kind of, look at a FreeCharge Wallet 2.0 kind of a scenario where someone else kind of now takes things forward, right? So, I think that's the way it happened. And, I wouldn't call it a burnout. It's just that at some point of time, you need to take a call and say, what's the priority at that stage for you? And I think I prioritize family at that point of time. And I don't regret that. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And then, of course, you took enough time to figure that out, and you discovered a whole bunch of interesting things.
Yeah, I think when you are when you're on mission, you don't really step back and, think about, you don't introspect, right? So I think the 8 months kind of helped to introspect and say, what, these were the right things to do, these were not the right things to do, right? Sometimes you're so just into the operational day-to-day stuff that you just don't take a step back at all, right? To do course correction, right? And as an individual, I think I wanted to kind of step back and see, what is next for me, and probably just unlearn and, say, what, let me get into something which is completely different.
Right.
And I think that's also one of the reasons why I joined Acko, because I didn't know the eye of insurance, right? We sold off our car in 2016. After that, I've now went and bought an insurance. And insurance was like, my agent told me, so I bought it. Right? And I think that's something what's really awesome about Acko.
Right.
That they didn't want people with, a baggage of insurance coming in, especially for the kind of role that, we were kind of, envisioning for me. We wanted to be a digital company. We didn't want to solve an insurance problem. We wanted to solve the business problem for partners. Right. And if insurance was a part of it, why not? Right. So I think that's how, it also helped me to kind of step back and say, what, while all this is good, but what is it that I really want? So yeah.
Let me ask you this, right? So, you're working with FreeCharge in the wallet space, right?
Yeah.
And that was also a very highly regulated space.
Yes.
From a government regulation perspective. Do you think that was part of the reason why something like Acko appealed? Because, again, you have experience dealing with thorny government regulations in that context, right? In a slightly different context. But, again, I think that those skills probably do apply, right?
So I think I think there are two ways to kind of, answer this question of yours. One is that I think both FreeCharge and Acko were trying to solve a problem for a partner or for a business, right? And I think that similarity that I saw out there, I thought that I could contribute out there, and I knew how to work in a regulated, in a regulated environment, right? So that didn't kind of deter me and say, how am I going to do things out here?
Exactly. I know a lot of entrepreneurs, that's like, stay away from anything that has government touching it, right?
Yeah. So I think being in a regulated environment also kind of helps you to kind of push yourself to think more because you have constraints, right? So you have to beat those constraints at some point of time, right? And a regulated environment says that, these are the constraints. Now you come up with what's the best that you can come up with, and that really pushes you to innovate.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think Acko was, and given that insurance is probably a little more regulated than
I would think
payments.
So.
Yeah. I'm sure about that.
Well, actually.
So I think, and that that really interested me because no one was looking at insurance the way Varun was looking at insurance at that point of time. We saw some parallels. There's a company called Zhonggan in China. They started 2014.
Okay.
And in 4 years, they went to make an IP of $11 billion.
Wow.
And they were invested by, Alibaba and Tencent. And they have close to 200 products in the market in China.
Okay.
Some of the most ridiculous products are, you're seeing a football match, you drink too much of beer, and then you need to get hospitalized. You have a medical cover for that.
Okay.
What?
So it's like specifically football oriented.
Yes.
So if you're watching cricket, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Definitely not in China.
Okay.
They have a product.
Sure, they sold a lot of that now with the World Cup.
They had a product which said that if the temperature goes more than 37 or 38 degrees in the day, they would do a payout.
Okay.
Which people could probably use it for buying a coffee or a drink.
Is that not, is that insurance or is that gambling?
They had to pull that product off the market.
Right, yeah.
But I think the larger thing out here is that if you really think about it hard, right, there are a lot of ways to kind of impact people's life, right? People today don't take insurances because they feel, was it really worth it, right? Because you have the same off-the-shelf products for everyone.
Right.
You're really not innovating in terms of saying that, for a person, this is the risk profile, this is the needs, right? Can I create a customized product?
Right.
And you can only customize products when you have enough data about people, right? So I think if you don't have enough data points about people, how are you going to do something like this? And that's exactly what Acko wants to solve today in the digital insurance space.
Interesting. So basically you're looking at accumulating data from a bunch of different sources and trying to figure out what's the best way to kind of offer products or best way to offer pricing or all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
So I think, if users start sharing their data with us, right, we have a promise for them that, we'll make it your worth, right? For example, if I know that, you are someone who has a family, right, with 2 kids, right? I know that your risk profile for a motor insurance is much lesser than someone else who's probably, a single bachelor, 19, 20-year-old who wants to really push the car to see, how much can he really push his car on the highway, right? So I think,
so this sounds like a fairly, clear example, right? I mean, this example seems obvious, right? But I mean, if you want to kind of really create really individualistic products which are much more deeper, then you're going to need data to come in which you can make evaluations from, right? What are the sources that you guys are looking at to try and pull that data in from? What kind of things can you talk about there?
So, for example, right, we are working with multiple internet companies today, right, where we are saying that, let us ensure different facets of your consumer's journey on your platform, right? What we're trying to do out there is, while we're not trying to, sneak into people's lives, but what we're trying to say is that, at a holistic level, right, are there behaviors or are there patterns that we can identify which can help us underwrite better, right? So that's something that we are kind of, looking at this point of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Other things, if I tell you, I'll have to kill you.
Yeah, I know. I figured that's where the answer was going.
I'm sure. On that somber note, I think we should take a break, come back and talk some more about how Acko weaves its magic.
Did you know that Parsis in Mumbai, instead of being left at the Tower of Silence after they die, are now cremated? And why? Because a cow fell sick in the early 1990s. Did you know that the smog in Delhi is caused by something that farmers in Punjab do and that there's no way to stop them? Did you know that there wasn't one gas tragedy in Bhopal, but 3? One of them was seen, but 2 were unseen. Did you know that many well-intentioned government policies hurt the people they're supposed to help? Why was demonetization a bad idea? How should GST have been implemented? Why are all our politicians so corrupt when not all of them are bad people? I'm Amit Verma, and in my weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen, I take a shot at answering all these questions and many more. I aim to go beyond the seen and show you the unseen effects of public policy and private action. I speak to experts on economics, political philosophy, cognitive neuroscience, and constitutional law so that the insights can blow not only my mind, but also yours. The Seen and the Unseen releases every Monday. So do check out the archives and follow the show at seenunseen.in. You can also subscribe to The Seen and the Unseen on whatever podcast app you happen to prefer.
All right, welcome back, guys. Of course, we ended on Kulin threatening to have to kill Amit if he asks more questions. So I think I'll do the question asking for now.
That's fine.
And
I hope you're insured, Amit.
I assume I am. Let me go to the Acko GI website.
This was his upsell tactic. He goes into rooms and threatens people and says, "Hey, you better buy insurance because
Always selling.
always selling." Absolutely. On that note, to understand how you do this digital insurance product, right? I mean, it's like you were saying earlier, how it's literally a 2-year-old industry. Zhonggang in China was one example. Obviously, they've taken it to the extreme, but it's worked out because they've IPO'd and they're successful. Today, I believe we are in a very data sharing averse sort of a age where finally a lot of people over the world are waking up to the fact that they leave their data footprints all over the web and have been doing so for so many years very carelessly and very, I would say, openly. But now suddenly there's a furor about, Google has my data, Facebook has my data, and government has my data, and Aadhaar, we won't go there, and so much more. So obviously, this means that there is a lot of data, unstructured data out there, which someone who makes sense of it can really use it for good, like what you're trying to do here. But at the same time, do you think we are also in a time where products like these, like you have to walk a very thin line on how much you ask from someone versus how you use it? So how is your approach to this whole industry, and how do you think what will cause? What are your chances of success based on?
And I hope you don't have to kill Shiladitya for this question.
No,
No?
I don't
Okay.
have to.
All right.
Yeah.
He's got insurance already. So, interesting question, right? I think people are afraid of their data is because they don't know how it's going to be used. They don't know about where and how are people going to use it, and what are they planning to sell to them. Is it unsolicited, right? I think our approach is saying that, hey, you know what? We are a digital insurance company. These are the benefits that we can provide you, right? If you share your data, right? We are saying that there is an upside for you to kind of share something with us, because obviously your data is going to be safe with us, right? And there's a tangible benefit attached to something like this, right? And that's a belief that, if users know how their data is being used, right, and they know that, what's the benefit that you're going to get out of it, I don't think that users are not inclined to share their data, especially if I'm just wanting to know that, are you married or not, right? Because that impacts your insurance premium, right? I don't think that people would not want to share that with me. I am not asking anything else about your marriage. I just want to know some signals that can help me to price you better, which helps me to tell you that, what, I am not subsidizing someone else's premium with your money, right? I'm getting you the true risk price for your premium, right? And that's why I'm using this data.
So all this while also, right, even if you go back before this sort of a product existed, all these years, and in fact all the way back to when the story of insurance was born, right, I think where
100 years
ago, there was an industry where, or the first insurance company, I don't know what was called, which company it was, but actually, who insured...
It was some Merchants Guild or something like that in Holland or Netherlands or something like that.
Who basically insured sailors or seafarers by selling this to their wives, right? Who they essentially...
Was that the first instrument? I thought the first instrument was insuring ships. Like ships.
I thought so too, against the pirate attack.
Yeah, I thought the first instrument was that. And then after that, this became the second. This became the first life insurance instrument.
Correct.
That was the first kind of commercial insurance.
So then overall life insurance is essentially saying, hey, what if your husband doesn't come back from this ship voyage he's going on? I'll give you so much money. But since then, till maybe Acko, it's been a black box of, you give me data, I'll do something with it. But give me data nonetheless, and this is your premium. Right? So here also you're asking for probably the same questions which our insurance agents have taken from us. I mean, we've all filled insurance forms. They all ask if you're married or not married, your age group, your life insurance asks you to do a medical test and a whole bunch of other things. And then they come back with a price. Right? How do you think you'll better that? Because I'm assuming traditional insurance also does this analysis, or they, I guess, hopefully do.
So our take on this is this, that, a lot of times the information that you're sharing with agents and brokers, right, might not even land up back with the insurance companies if they see a conflict of interest out there, right? We've seen examples in the industry where agents have not even shared your mobile number and email ID. They just probably provide your name and they just, issue a policy. Because somewhere down the line there is this, conflict of interest that, a lot of intermediaries have with insurance companies, saying that if I share all your data, would those insurance companies, come back and pitch to you, leaving them out of the, equation, right? And this hampers their business, right? We're seeing that we want to come direct to the consumer, right? We want to use all the new tech that is available today to kind of, crunch this data that is available, right? We are coming with an philosophy or with the DNA that we are a tech company which is doing insurance. And not the other way around. Right. And I think that philosophy itself, right, kind of helps us to look at things differently, right? Everyone, Google could do everything, Facebook could do everything, right? But they're not doing it. And certain, apps are much better than what they could, deliver, right? And I think that's all about the DNA. Right, and I think our DNA is that we are a tech company, which happens to do insurance, and we want to do it in a way that whenever there is data available, right, how do we connect the dots, right? How do we kind of, create an algorithm or, a kind of a way to kind of underwrite this data and give the right price, right? So that's something which is at a philosophical level at the company, right? We are kind of, using big data. We are kind of using ML, and our entire stack is ML family-based languages, which no one in the country is actually doing it right now. And we kind of really pride ourselves of being the first ones to do that in the country right now. And I think these are some of the things that help us to, serve our consumers better.
Just to come back to one of the things. So you're a no-broker insurance company?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, direct insurance, right?
Direct
So
insurance.
we are actually the insurer, right?
Yeah, we are actually the insurer. Yeah.
And now Now,
So I mean, like, generally, I mean, like, we all bitch about brokers and like, talk about them as like whatever, right? But at the same time, they do provide some value, right? I mean, like, so how do you kind of, if as a no broker insurance company, how do you kind of replicate the value that brokers do provide, right? I mean, like, not letting people know about different products that are coming out, giving them their opinion on what they shouldn't do. I mean, like, how do you guys deal with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think there are enough and more avenues today to kind of, reach out to our consumers, right? There are a lot of digital channels by which we can kind of, inform our consumers about this, right? Let me take an example of, your car insurance, right? If you meet with an accident, right, you can just call up Acko today, and within 30 minutes, we send someone from our crew to kind of come and take a custody of your car. Okay. We kind of take care of making sure that it goes to the right garage.
Right.
We kind of even deliver it back to you. We give you a TAT of 3 days. If you don't get the car in that, we're going to give you, some cab hailing vouchers. Okay. I'm saying that all these things are possible today because of the whole evolution in terms of communication.
What a broker does, right? Broker doesn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah. We are saying that, we can do all these things. You don't need someone else, right? We want to have a personal relationship with the consumer. Right. We want to kind of open up the channel and be transparent today, right? Why would you want an intermediary when you are okay to be kind of completely transparent with your consumers, right? Why do you want an intermediary when you know that you can reach out to your consumers directly, right? There are enough and more channels today by which we can reach out to people, right? We are no longer in the yesteryears where, it's difficult to get the word out unless you had people kind of, representing you.
Right.
I think we don't need that anymore, at least not Acko at this point of time.
It's also, I mean, going back to the same thing, right? We trusted brokers because of the unknowns which they handled, right? We said, okay, listen, I have no idea. You know me, get me what you think is best. Instead, here the company is going, I mean, you're being a lot more transparent in what you're collecting.
Right.
At the same time, your tech, I mean, more and more the world is starting to trust tech more than people, right? I mean, more often than not, tech makes lesser mistakes than people do and so on. I'm a big believer of that. I know when the robots take over, I'm all okay with it. but the journey from here, which you've embarked on right now, you're obviously using a lot of deep tech to understand, how to financially insure someone in various scenarios. The example you mentioned was car insurance. You guys have Amazon as an investor now, so obviously there's an e-commerce sort of angle to it also. There's so much data in e-commerce in general. People are moving their entire lives of spending online.
Right.
And there's a lot of data, I'm sure, there to look at and learn better behaviors. So more and more, how big a deal is insurance in general? I mean, I want to understand, like, how do you make sure it's a big part of someone's life, just like anything else would be?
Right. So let me take an example of our, recent partnership with Ola, right? A lot of people have been kind of voicing their concerns that, what if I take a cab hailing ride? What if it reaches late? I need to go to the airport. What if I miss my flight? Who's going to pay for this? Right? I know that once upon a time I've kind of, I've tweeted about the same thing, but I was almost about to miss a flight because of a cab hailing company. Today, because of the availability of data, right, we are providing a missed flight insurance product with anyone who takes an Ola ride today.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you miss your flight because an Ola driver denied duty, or there was genuinely traffic on the road, or the route taken was a longer one, right? It's not your fault, right? So if you pay a 1 rupee insurance, right, we pay you up to 5,000 rupees or the ticket value, right, as a benefit, right? And I'm saying that this is where we come into the picture.
Wow, I didn't know you gave 5,000. I've been giving you $1 every day, man. Okay, then.
So, I think these are the kind of innovative products that you can come up with when there is free flow of data, right? If someone can tell me that you are going to the airport, right, I can provide a cover like this to you, right? So these are the kind of innovative products that we are trying to build. With Amazon as an investor, right, we are looking at building, custom products for Amazon, which can solve the problem in
their supply chain.
In the supply chain, right? We are creating first of its kind mobile insurance right now, where we are seeing that we come and pick up your phone from your home, and within 3 to 4 working days, we kind of come and give it back after the repairs have been done. And this is only possible when there is a free flowing of information, when, consumers are seeing the benefit of sharing information with you. Right. So I think internet is becoming a very big play for us because that's where, data is available. That's where, data can kind of flow freely, and you can then innovate basis this kind of data. Another thing about, Ola is that you don't really have to even give us a call to claim insurance.
Right.
We've done a deep integration into the Ola app itself from where you can generate your, claim.
Wow.
And it takes probably less than 2 minutes to finish off the entire claim process, including submitting the documents. And 48 hours after that, we kind of process your claims. So things that used to take 7 to 10 working days, we've kind of reduced it to 48 hours now. And we're still trying to see that, can we use concepts like smart contracts, right, to pay off certain claims where there's no human intervention required at all.
Blockchain, you use the word. All right.
Now your podcast's going to get famous because someone spoke about blockchain.
Wow, we thought one episode without saying it would happen, but no, everyone's into it. But awesome. But obviously, there's definitely going to be you're disrupting this 100-year-old industry which we just spoke about, and obviously there are examples the world over where it's succeeding. Between here and you mentioned earlier that instead of us as general consumers who are going out and asking our agents, and then they are giving us a bouquet of options to choose from, and these are what is out there, choose what is best and pay a premium, and insurance becoming this once or twice or thrice a year, how many times I pay a policy thing I recall, to every day when I take an Ola.
Exactly.
There's this 1 rupee which is going and I know I'm protected. So you're also playing with the data that you have allows you to decide who to offer what kind of insurance, right?
Yes.
You get to individually understand each user's behavior, background, data, and say, okay, I want to insure this person for less money and the other person for more because they're high risk and low risk and all of these factors. Do you think that puts, again, a very
Sure.
Another angle to this question is, do you think that puts too much power in your hands and decide who to give insurance to and who is allowed to be insured versus not?
We're not saying we're going to refuse insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to insure everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if you carry a high risk profile, you should be paying for that risk that you carry, right? It's not fair for someone who is not carrying a high risk profile to pay and subsidize for someone because there's absence of data. We're saying that we want to cover everyone. Mm-hmm. It's just that we will ask you to pay the right price, and we put the ball back in the consumer's court and say, hey, this is our take on your risk profile, and this is what you need to pay for it, right? If you're okay with it, we are more than happy to extend our services to you. Mm-hmm. But if you think that that you don't want to pay for it, he can refuse us. But as an insurance company, we don't refuse anyone. Right? We just want to make sure that people are paying the right price for the risk that they carry. We don't want to be blinded wherein someone else is subsidizing someone else. Right.
Which is what has been the standard of insurance all this while.
Yeah. Well, it's if you look at Obamacare and they talk about that in the US, right? Part of the thing that they do is that everybody has to take it because they're looking to make that deliberately the case, right? Where the people with lower risk are subsidizing people with the higher risk. But then that is a governmental kind of initiative rather than a private company. A private company can be forced into the same thing. But what that does lead me to ask you is that are there products that you have decided, again, insurance heavily regulated area of the market. So are there products that you guys have decided that, this is not an area that we want to play in?
So I think our strategy right now is that we want to kind of concentrate on two kind of products right now. One is the motor insurance product for obvious reason because it's heavily regulated and it's compulsory, right? And we are bringing in efficiencies through distribution and pricing out there. Right. So that is one area that we're looking at. The other one is the internet economy, where we're saying that can we build innovative products? Can we touch, every consumer's life more than just once or twice in a year? Right. Can we tell them that, if it's a customized insurance product, it really benefits you, right? People don't take insurance because they feel, I'm not going to be able to claim.
Yeah. Right.
Why should I pay money, right? Like everyone just gives me the same kind of benefits. Right. I don't need it. So can we really, impact the consumer's life? So that's the internet product that we're talking about. We're saying that at this point of time, we want to only focus on these two things.
Okay.
Because we rather not open up battlefronts on multiple products.
Right.
We create we make the consumer know that, what, if we do one thing, we do it really well. So we really want to concentrate on these value propositions, focus on them, drive an amazing consumer experience, right? Kind of optimize our journey. And then we say that, what, the next product that we launch, people will trust us.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
So let's solve one case at a time. And, but make it big in the consumer's life cycle.
I agree. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. So
I have another dystopian future question.
Okay.
Because it relates to a future which is actually already here. Going back to China, our wonderful neighbors, for how advanced they are. You obviously know, right? There's a whole different, there's a credit rating system now in China where you have a public rating across a bunch of digital platforms you're on. And now every other service, especially by the government, or since it's generally more regulated there, is being controlled and delivered basis that rating. And that's again because they have all your data. So how far do you think we are from today you giving people $5 or $1 for an Ola ride to maybe when Amit sits in Ola cab, it'll show him $5. I'm like, hey Amit, sorry, you spend too much money on fancy movies, so you're higher risk. So
no, I'm going to say, what, Amit, you're still good with $1.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
How far are we from that world? I think we are still a little far away because we still have data in fragmented pieces out here right now. I think in China, a lot of things are led by the government. And like we spoke earlier, right? Chinese government has kind of, identified certain players who can create scores. And then can they create a master score on top of that? Somewhere I read a few months back is that approximately 11.4 million airline trips were cancelled because people didn't have the right score.
Wow.
So they were denied airline trips. And there are some close to around 20 million train trips that were denied. We can definitely look up those numbers again. But those are the ballpark numbers that I read that were kind of, said no to.
But
why? I mean, why can't you fly? Because what will happen?
Badly behaved? I mean,
I think.
I mean, if that's the case, then that seems kind of very unfair to me. That you're preventing future behavior on the basis of some
past
rating.
behavior.
Yeah,
exactly. So it sort of ties in with your industry you're in, right? A lot of people pay high premiums for whatever they've done or whatever they've in the past and so on, right? So how do you what's your, and it's a very open-ended question around what's your take on balancing this, because there'll always be bad actors like you were saying, and there are always the rest of majority are good, and which is why traditional insurance companies tend to just balance it out, especially for those bad actors. They'll be like, what the hell, why am I being charged so much? Just because I've it is. I nicked my car once.
Yeah.
So this is a purely personal view, right? I don't think you are kind of singling out bad actors, but I think at least this is a very personal view that you're actually giving a chance that if there's a bad behavior, there's an opportunity to correct it, right? Because it's for the larger good, right? If you're going to be driving carelessly on the road, you're not only kind of putting yourself in trouble, but you're putting others also in trouble who are driving around you, right? So if you are kind of paying a higher premium and this kind of nudges you to say, what, I could actually balance my driving and not put other people on trouble, right? If it's driving a good behavior, I don't think we are trying to, take away people's way of life. But we're just saying that, listen, we think that if you drive safely on the road,
next year you pay lesser.
Yeah, you pay lesser.
Yeah,
and then that makes a bunch of sense, right? I think that's completely logical. I think it's what we have with the no claim bonus right now, right? You don't make a claim, you get a little bit of a benefit in terms of whatever that may be.
Yeah,
but
no claim bonuses are farce, because you could have in the last 3 years.
10 this, but you didn't make a claim.
In the last just 1 year, you didn't make any claim.
Yeah.
Right. But how do you kind of track that? Right. There's no way that someone can really track it. But and hence you just get for the last 1 year.
Right.
Right. But yeah, I think that's the way the industry is moving today because there's absence of data.
Right.
So, yeah.
But there are people now tracking, again, not auto insurance. Of course, there are trackers on cars. You can you actually have data trackers on cars. You have people connecting Fitbit data to insurance. And so there are
GPS data. You have OBD devices in the cars, right? Yeah. So if an OBD device can give you a good driving score, right, why shouldn't you get rewarded for doing something good?
I agree.
Right? I wouldn't talk from the fact that why am I penalizing for being bad, but I'm saying that why can't you be rewarded for doing something good?
I agree. I have no issue with that. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's hope. I don't have a car for a long time now. So
I haven't had a car in 3 years either.
And you're still insured when you go in Ola.
Yes. Yes. Now that I know if my flight is delayed or late, or if I do miss my flight, I know what button to press. I won't call you, Kulin. But, thanks so much for telling us about this story. And of course, we'll wait to see where all Acko pops up in our lives, asking us and how soon you become that agent who reminds you about, hey, your premium is up, or why don't you pay me one more rupee for...
Just a nudge.
Just a nudge. On that note, where do people get in touch with you? Where are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at @NowEntrepreneur, and my email's there, Kulin@acko.com.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
And just a reminder, everybody, please sign up for the Slack channel. Go to the website, www.ivmpodcast.com/Shunya One. There's a button over there which says subscribe to Slack. Click on that button, send us your email address, and we shall send you an invitation back. Also, please remember to give us a rating or a review wherever you're listening to this. That stuff really does help.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kulin, and hope to hear more about Acko in the coming months.
Pleasure's mine, and yes, we'll keep you informed.
As you can see, we have a podcast listener in his natural habitat. Billions of years of evolution have led him to this point. He's on his way to work, and listening to podcasts makes his miserable day better. He will now head to work and use all his knowledge to communicate with other colleagues and possibly future mates. You can find more of his species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out all the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.